You've felt it before, even if you couldn't explain it. That moment when someone says just a few words, and suddenly your opinion shifts. When you walk into a conversation thinking one thing, and leave thinking something completely different. When you agree to something, and only later realize you didn't actually want to. It doesn't feel like manipulation. It feels natural, smooth, almost invisible, and that's exactly why it works. The truth is, the most intelligent people don't force control. They don't dominate conversations. They don't raise their voice. They influence quietly. They understand something most people ignore, that the human mind is not as independent as it believes. Your decisions, your reactions, even your confidence in your own thoughts can be shaped by subtle psychological patterns happening beneath your awareness. And once you start recognizing these patterns, you won't just see them in others. You'll start seeing them everywhere. In conversations, in relationships, in everyday moments you once thought were harmless. And after today, you won't be able to unsee them. Before we go deeper, I want to be clear. Everything discussed on this channel is strictly for educational purposes. Understanding dark psychology is about building awareness, not weaponizing it. If you or someone you know is in a harmful situation, please seek support from a licensed professional. This is a space for growth, clarity, and protection. Nothing else. What you're about to understand is often called psychological influence, but most people know it by a more dramatic name: mind control. Now let's be clear. This isn't about someone magically controlling your thoughts. It's about something far more subtle and far more real. It's about how certain people understand human behavior deeply enough to guide your thinking without you noticing. Imagine this. You're talking to someone about a decision, maybe a purchase, a plan, or even a relationship choice. At first you feel uncertain, neutral, open, but as the conversation continues, they start framing things in a specific way. They highlight certain risks, emphasize certain benefits, and subtly guide your attention. By the end, you feel like the decision is completely yours, but in reality, the direction was shaped from the very beginning. This matters because it happens every day, in friendships, in workplaces, in relationships. And if you don't recognize it, you don't just get influenced, you lose clarity over your own thinking. But once you understand the layers behind it, you don't just protect yourself. You become aware in a way most people never do. Layer 1, the power of framing. Everything begins with how information is presented. Not what is said, but how it is said. The human mind doesn't process information objectively. It reacts to context. For example, imagine someone says, "This plan has a 70% chance of success." Now compare that to, "This plan has a 30% chance of failure." Same reality, different reaction. In everyday life, this shows up constantly. A coworker describes a task as easy and quick, and suddenly you feel more confident doing it. A friend describes a situation as risky, and suddenly you hesitate. The information didn't change. Your perception did. Why does this matter? Because when you recognize framing, you stop reacting automatically. You start asking, what's actually being said here, beyond the words? And that awareness gives you back control. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Layer 2, emotional triggering. Most people believe they make decisions logically, but the truth is, emotion comes first, logic comes after. To justify it, smart influencers understand this deeply. They don't try to change your mind directly. They shift how you feel, because once your emotional state changes, your thinking follows. Imagine someone subtly making you feel uncertain. They question small details, highlight doubts, create just enough discomfort. Now suddenly, you're more open to guidance, not because they forced you, but because your emotional state changed. Or the opposite. Someone makes you feel understood, safe, valued. Now you trust them more. You lower your guard, and without realizing it, you give their words more weight. This isn't random. It's pattern recognition, and when you start noticing how your emotions shift in conversations, you begin to understand what's influencing you. Most people stop here, but you need to know the next layer. Layer 3, suggestion without awareness. This is where influence becomes almost invisible, because nothing feels direct. Instead of telling you what to think, someone plants ideas, subtle suggestions, casual comments, small observations, and your mind fills in the rest. For example, someone might say, "Some people struggle in situations like this." They didn't say you will struggle, but now the idea exists. Or they might say, "I've noticed confident people usually handle this differently." Now your mind compares itself without realizing it. You start adjusting your behavior. This works because the brain prefers to believe its own conclusions. If an idea feels like it came from you, you trust it more. And that's what makes this layer so powerful. It doesn't feel like influence. It feels like self-awareness. But once you recognize it, you start questioning where your thoughts are actually coming from. Here's the part most people don't realize. The real mind control isn't control at all. It's cooperation. Your mind isn't being forced. It's participating every time you accept a frame, every time you follow an emotional shift, every time you complete a suggestion. You are actively involved in the process. And that's why it's so effective, because it doesn't feel like something is being done to you. It feels like something you chose. But here's the deeper truth. This doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. The same mechanisms that allow influence also allow connection, understanding, learning, growth. The difference is awareness. When you're unaware, you can be guided without realizing it. When you're aware, you decide what you accept and what you reject, and that shift changes everything. Strategy 1, pause before agreement. Whenever you feel yourself quickly agreeing with something, pause. Give yourself a moment to step back and ask, do I actually believe this? Or am I reacting to how it was presented? That small delay breaks automatic influence. Strategy 2, separate emotion from decision. When making decisions, notice your emotional state. If you feel pressured, uncertain, or overly excited, step away before deciding. Clarity comes when emotion settles, not when it peaks. Strategy 3, reframe the frame. Take any statement and flip it. If someone presents something positively, consider the negative side, and vice versa. This helps you see the full picture instead of a guided version of it. Strategy 4, question subtle suggestions. When a thought appears suddenly, especially one tied to doubt or comparison, ask yourself, where did this idea come from? This builds awareness of external influence on your internal thinking. Think about the last time you changed your mind during a conversation, and it felt completely natural. Now ask yourself, did that decision truly come from you, or did someone shape the way you saw it? What patterns do you recognize now that you couldn't see before? The truth is simple. Influence is happening all the time. Not loudly, but quietly. Not forcefully, but subtly. And once you recognize these patterns, you stop being unconsciously guided and start thinking with clarity. In our next video, we're going to expose a behavior pattern that silently destroys confidence. And most people don't even realize it's happening to them. If this gave you something to think about, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to keep learning the psychology most people never get taught,